Good afternoon, everybody. So sorry, we are having some major technical challenges. So welcome to WellaEducation Instagram Live today. My name is Carrera Alvarez. Sorry for being a few minutes late. Just the lovely thing of working from home and then internet crashing right before we're going online. So thank you for joining me. My name is Carrera Alvarez, and I'm a signature artist for Wella Professionals. So what I get to do is I get to work full-time in education, which I love and I'm super passionate about. And typically I get to travel all over the western states of the United States. However, based on everything that we're going through right now, unfortunately, you are joining me here in my dining room. So thank you for logging in today, and thank you for connecting with us. My name is Carrera, and my sister is actually the camera lady behind the camera today. So my sister's name is Carissa. So let her know of any feedback that you have or any questions that you might have, and she'll be really happy to engage with you and let me know if there's any unanswered questions and if there's anything that you need from her, camera angle and that sort of thing. So make sure that you communicate with us. How are we doing? Are we getting some people joining us? Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. So again, my name is Carrera Alvarez, and today I was asked to really bring to you some Wella color, focusing on rich fall tones, but also tips and tricks for how to use Nioxin to really focus on your client's scalp and hair health, especially during the transition of moving into the winter. People tend to get on the drier side, but also some ways that you can use Nioxin for those clients that are really experiencing thinning hair, but still maintaining that rich, beautiful Wella color that we love. So thank you again for joining me, everybody. Again, I'm so sorry for being a little bit late to the party. Our internet connection has been a little bit wonky today. So anyways, before I get started on my color creation, I wanted to just be super honest and transparent with you guys. And I wanted to kind of see if there's anybody else out there that's struggling with the same thing that I was struggling with over the last couple weeks. So I was asked to do this Instagram Live. Which color is my passion? I've specialized in color for over 20 years, and I've never really had a hard time being inspired. I've always found nature to be super inspirational to me, or just people that I work with. I really learn a lot from multiple people, so I've never really had that problem. But this week and the last couple of weeks when I've been training, we've got to fly, when we've been focusing on what I'm going to deliver today, I almost had like a writer's block. I felt completely lost. I think it's because of the last 8 months not being able to get out there and be face-to-face in education, and really the idea, I think, of missing all of you guys live, it kind of put me in a little bit of a funk, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm hoping that I'm not the only one that's dealing with this, or actually I really am hoping, because I don't want this to be anybody else's problem but mine. But I really had to dig hard for inspiration this time around. I had to go on really long walks, listen to some good music, and just get outside and clear my head. And then I went onto Pinterest, and I find that Pinterest is such a really great place to kind of get inspired, to really see a lot of different options. And so knowing that I was going to be talking about rich fall tones, I started creating a Pinterest board. So I went through Pinterest, and then all of a sudden I found myself on Pinterest for hours and so inspired of the different fall tones. I'm based here in Southern California, so unfortunately we don't see a huge transition of seasons, right? So for us, the season change is going from 110 degrees to maybe 80 degrees, and we have very minimal fall leaf change unless you drive to the mountains. So I don't get that on a daily basis in nature, but I've been seeing a lot of the stuff that you guys have been posting of your backyards, the seasonal change. I've seen the occasional snow already in some states, which is so awesome to me. So I'm going to share with you guys my mood board that I created for today, and then go into a technique that I created based on this mood board. So it really helped to get me out of my inspirational funk. So I'm going to take the camera from Carissa, and I'm going to switch this over to my photos, and I'm going to share with you guys my mood board. Okay, so as you guys can see here, this is my mood board. Okay, so my mood board here is, you can see there's just tons of tons of tones in here, the really rich warm leaves, the beautiful sunsets. I loved this picture specifically because it just shows so many of the what I dream of, like with fall, the glow of the leaves, the change, that crisp fall air. I loved all these tones, so really warm. So you're seeing a lot of rich browns, a lot of kind of caramely oranges. I see a lot of the rich kind of copper scents to that. I'm loving that, you guys. Oh, I see somebody on here commented, snow is bad. I know. I feel you. I wouldn't want to live in it, but I would like to spend a little time in it. So here's my some more of my inspirations. This really resonates with me because I love it. Here in California, all of a sudden it's 70 degrees outside and we're freezing. We're such babies when it comes to that. But I love a good fall or winter night by the fire, drinking some hot cocoa. This is my favorite little thing to do. So you can see here where I've gotten a lot of these kind of inspirations from my tones here. So really getting re-inspired of the fall tones. And this is my last one that I want to share with you. Water is my happy place. I don't care if it's the ocean, the lake, a river, just a stream. I'll take a pool. I'm fine with that. But this is such a beautiful picture of just water. You've got your sunset there and beautiful fall leaves. So this is amazing. And this is where I'm going to get my inspiration from today. And I see a lot of you guys commenting that you're freezing at 38 degrees. I know we are very, very spoiled here in California with the weathers. But, we always look at the grass is always greener on the other side. It's just not how it always is. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch back. Okay. And again, Carissa is going to be manning the camera for me. So I'm going to take you over to my station here that I have set up with my colors. So you saw my mood board, you saw my inspiration, and what I've decided to do, and I'll show you my sectioning in a little bit, but Carissa, if you can show them the formula. This is a little bit funky here, but I wanted to share with you what I've done with my mannequin, and I'll show it to you in a second. I'm working with the Luminant color as my base color, so I've already prepped that for you so that you're not having to watch me do an all over color for the next 20 minutes. I worked with the Luminant color, so a Luminant color is one of our permanent color lines. That's very shiny, very iridescent. It has some nice cool tones to it. But I worked with a 5-stroke 7, which is a level 5 warm brown. So again, taking that inspiration from that hot cocoa kind of feel to it, with equal parts of a 5-stroke 3-5. So that's a level 5 gold, red violet. And the way that I think of this tone is almost like a root beer.
They don't see reverse the cam. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, no, it's good. Got it? Did you reverse the cam? All right, so can you guys see? Oh, I forgot. Sorry, guys. Oh, we are just challenged today. All right, so here, the 5-stroke 7 plus the 5-stroke 3-5 and 20 volume. So that's going to be my base color. Then what I'm going to share with you guys today is what I call artistic blending. It could be patchwork. I've heard people refer to things as tie-dye, but it's artistic blending, and I'm going to show you a technique on that, but I'm using Magma. So Magma to me is one of the most underutilized tools, I believe, in a salon's toolkit, and one of my favorite things to use ever. So Magma is actually part of our Lightener family, so this is our Blonde Or family. And Magma actually lifts and deposits tone at the very same time. So it goes inside the hair, it will lift all the natural melanin or the natural color out of the hair as well as artificial hair color out of the hair, so really good for correction. But then it also deposits semi-permanent color onto the surface of the hair at the same time. So it takes away the extra step of lifting and toning. So I'm going to be working with 16 grams of Stroke 07 Plus. So this is a natural warm brown. This is a little bit, the plus sign has a little bit added tone to that for those darker levels of hair. And I'm working with 13 volumes. So Color Touch, 13 volume for Magma. And I'll explain to you why I'm going to do that while I'm mixing. And that's going to be a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. Then I'm going to be working in a second bowl of 16 grams again of Stroke 7-3. So this is a warm brown gold. Again, working with my 13 volume at a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. And my third color is something a little bit more creative, is going to be 7 grams clear plus 7 grams of the Stroke 3/6. So that is a gold violet. So you can kind of visualize that kind of warm, but still on a little bit not too warm, because we've got the violet secondary tone here. And 2 grams of our Stroke 4/4. So that is a double red. So Stroke 4/4 is red, red. That can be extremely warm, but because I'm mixing it with the clear to dilute it out a little bit, and the Stroke 3/6 is just gonna give me a nice, rich, warm amber glow to it. And I'm working with that with the 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio again with 6 volume developer. So I know that's a lot to go through right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and start getting mixed up. So I wanna have Carissa show you what the tones look like. I've already pre-mixed the actual powder itself. So here we have the Stroke 07 Plus. So you can see that, you can almost see the pigment right in the powder before we even get anything mixed up. Then here's the amazing, look at all these tones in here. So you can kind of see the Stroke 3/6 there, the gold violet. And here's our Stroke 4/4. So you can see why I've decided to add clear to that, because it could be very, very warm, really poppy if you wanted it to, but the combination of these will make it just kind of, like I said, almost just a glow in the hair. And then we have our Stroke 7. So you can almost see that it looks very clayish color. This is the brown gold. So I'm gonna go ahead and get mixed up here.
Do you mix Magma with Color Touch?
Great question. So, do we mix Magma with Color Touch? The amazing thing with Magma is it actually can be mixed with all of our developers. It can be mixed with Color Touch, and that's actually what I'm going to be using today. Color Touch, it can be mixed with the WellaEducation developers, and it actually can be mixed with the Freelights developers. So I have it here because I'm going to show you my technique could also be done in a hand-painted variety as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be mixing this here. So it's 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio. Okay, scale's getting a little bit wonky too. Don't you love when things don't work properly for you? So you can see here as I'm mixing, the consistency or the viscosity of the product is very similar to, you know, any other lightener. So this is a pretty clay-based lightener, and the consistency is just really nice. And I'm mixing it with Color Touch Developer because the cool thing about Magma is, like we answered a second ago, we can use all of our developers, but a good concept for Magma is I love the option of low and slow. So what that means is low volume of developer and longer processing time, okay? Okay, so this can give you a good amount of lift to this, but what you want to do is you want to allow the direct dyes to have time to process. So you want to make sure that you have enough ample time, processing time, for those direct dyes to sit on top of the cuticle and really do their job. So that's why the concept of low and slow, so low volume of developer and a slower processing time. You really want the reds especially to sit on for a good 30 to 40 minutes to allow that full deposit of that red rich tone. Because if you take them off too soon, it could be really bright and almost kind of hollow if you allow it to lift too light. And I'll actually show you when I get my hands out of this mixing of what it looks like in the color swatch book based on different developers. Okay, so this is going to be my red tone here, so you guys can see the mixing. I'm switching my developer here to a 6 volume.
When you say longer, about how much longer? About how much is longer?
What was the question? So when you say longer, how much longer? So typically you want to think of developers doing, it's not going to change your lift, right? So it's basically just going to change your speed. So if I was to use 40 volume developer on this, what would happen is that client's hair would lift quicker or lift, you know, faster. It's about getting to the end result faster, or the end, the race, I guess, if you're saying that. So look at how pretty this is when it's mixing. I love it. So what will happen is you'll have to take it off quicker. So let's say maybe if you're working with 40 volume, that hair might need to be rinsed off in 20 minutes time based on, the porosity and all that, and the elasticity of the hair. Where if you're working with more of a lower volume developer, you can allow that to process a little bit longer because it's maintaining the integrity of the hair as well. So, and that will just be allowed to give you a lot more time. And I'm going to show you in the color swatch book what I'm talking about in a second. All right, so take a look at that color, everybody. Isn't that amazing? All right, how are we doing, Carissa? Are we good on questions, comments?
How much color will stay before they start to turn yellow?
Let me answer me that question. How much of the color will stay before it starts to turn yellow? So are you talking about the underlying pigment? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about the lift? If you want to respond to that. Okay, so I'm going to have Carissa back up a little bit. And so as you're responding to that question, because I'm unclear on what you're asking a little bit on that question, so if you can let me know what you're asking, I'm going to go ahead and kind of just get started here. And then when you clarify your question, then I'll be able to get back to it. Okay, so this is my lovely lady here. And so as you can see, the Illumina Color 5-stroke 7 and 5-stroke 3-5 was prepped on the mannequin head previously. So when I was thinking of this, I was thinking of this is a great way for you to bring to life your brunettes that come into the salon. Maybe this would be your typical gray retouch client, and that way you can kind of just give them something a little bit updated, a little bit fresh. But this could also be done at the same time as a tint retouch. So I went ahead and just prepped her ahead of time. As you can see here, let me see if I can tilt her down so you guys can see the sectioning if you want to kind of get up. So as you can see here, what I've done is I've pre-sectioned this into a nice diamond shape on the top. So it's going to be leaving a bit of a veil kind of pattern through that top area here. And I've already went ahead and pre-prepped some of the foil work so that we wouldn't necessarily having to be watching me foil for the next 20 minutes. But I'm going to go through and give you some in-depth application. So did they clarify the question at all, Carissa? I'm going to just go grab the colors.
Not yet.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do before I start that is I'm going to get out the color swatch book, the Magma sheets, because I wanted to show you guys, kind of get back to the difference of low and slow. So this is right directly out of the Wella swatch book. And you can see here that on this side here, we're working, this is what it would look like if you mixed 6 volume or the 1.9% with Magma. This is specifically one stroke 1.7. But then look at the difference if you did it with a 40 volume. So see the lift difference that you get here, or the deposit of tone. And when you're working with the red, so again, this is the color right here that I'm using. Look at the difference between the deposit of the tone. So here is a 6 volume versus the difference if you were to use 40 volume. So that's what I was trying to explain with it gets a little bit punchy. It can be used in a very creative manner. But this is kind of a really good telling of what would happen if you use different volumes of developer.
Underline pigments.
Okay, so if you're working with the underlying pigments, same, when you want to keep in consideration that this is still a lightener. So it is going to lift. So depending on what your target level is, that is going to be, based your determination. So that's why if you were to use, like I said, the 40 volume developer here, that's obviously going to lift out your underlying pigment quicker, expose more of the underlying pigment, so you potentially could get more of that really bright feel to that. What will happen is it's the same thing as when you're lifting. Whenever you're using developer, you are still exposing contributing pigment. So every time you're formulating, even for Magma, you want to make sure to continue or to keep that in mind. So if I'm working with a level 4, I know that the majority of my underlying pigment would be a really orangey red, right? So when I'm working with wanting to lift that out, I might need to do something, if I wanted something cooler, more so on a blue cendre feel to it, the blue violet side, because it's going to cancel out a lot of that warmth.
And do you foil each side by side or whole one side complete?
Good question. So for my technique today...
And weave or slice. And weave or slice.
I'm going to get to that right now. So here is my technique today. So what I'm going to do is I'm doing a technique that's artistic blending. Well, that's what I call it. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to be giving this a lot of texture. Okay, so I'm doing what I call a very heavy weave or a textured weave. I don't like the word chunky. I think it just sounds like a bad word. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and do a very heavy weave so you guys can see it's a good majority of that hair here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a gentle back comb. Okay, so the thing of it is too is that my big points on here is partnering with Nioxin and working with different products that it's going to really help, but also understanding when somebody is maybe concerned with thinning hair or concerned with hair or scalp issues, the way that we mechanically treat the hair is just as important as what products that you're using, right? So because I'm doing a very gentle back comb, I'm going to treat this hair very gently, so I'm not overly back combing it. I don't want to cause mechanical damage to this while it's being processed either. And I'm going to just place my finger here and hold that. Now here comes the fun part. So I'm working with my Magma tones. And I am going to just start coloring away. The cool thing about artistic blending is it's just that. It's artistic. So this is going to be the whole purpose of this kind of end result is to just be very random. And you want a lot of dimension in your tones. Okay. So remember how I was kind of explaining it can look like tie-dye, it can look just like...
What base color is the mannequin?
The mannequin is pre-colored with Illumina color, stroke 5-7 and 5 stroke 3-5, equal parts, so 20 volume. Okay, so you can see here, so I've started with the stroke 7-3, this is what you see that brown color. I started it at the root area and blended it down part of the ends, and then I switched over to a red. And the cool thing about this is you can use your fingers or your gloves or your brush and just kind of blend it through there. Definitely recommend making sure that you have a towel handy close to you so you can wipe any of the tones that come on your fingers. And then what I'm doing is what I call a sandwiching technique with my foil. Because I've got multiple tones on here, it's best instead of folding it up, you want to let that process so it doesn't get too muddled together. And then what I'm doing is I'm just folding this corner, this top, to just kind of lock it in a little bit so that it doesn't get heavy during the processing and slip out. So it kind of creates a little lock here. So what I've done here is I've taken one section and now I'm going to go with my next subsection here. And you can see the size of my section is quite large, so bigger than what you would do for a normal like highlight or weave. But the cool thing about this is that this is a couple things. One, a really quick and easy technique for you to do as a stylist to give your clients some dimensional color. It's also a very low maintenance color for your clients because of that veil through the top. It's something that they can just have kind of a little bit more exciting for a little bit and then a lower maintenance color. But this is a great way for you to up service your clients during the holiday season and kind of give them opportunity for some change.
Can it be used on natural colors?
Great question. This absolutely, Magma can be used on artificial color or natural hair color. So this is a great tool to have in the salon. And now with my next section, I started with my other color. So this is the stroke 07 plus.
And do you need a change developer if you're using WellaEducation?
Great question. So this can be mixed with WellaEducation. And the cool thing is that you do not have to change developer at all anytime you're using WellaEducation with any of the Wella Professional portfolio. However, what you can do, what does change is the amount of WellaEducation that is mixed into based on the consistency of what product you're using. So on our WellaEducation app, there is a great usage chart under the WellaEducation category, and that will give you how much of the mixing ratio you need for Magma.
And you can mix Magma with blonde or multi-blonde?
Good question. So can I mix blonde or with Magma? We don't recommend them being mixed together, but the cool thing is if you need any kind of You can use Magma Clear is what I'm using today. That will dilute down shades, but you can also use the clear by itself if you're wanting to kind of just use it as a lightener, but they are not to be intermixed with the Blondor, the rest of the Blondor portfolio. Okay, so I'm doing that second lock here. So the cool thing about this technique, it's made to just be very artistic, very random. I mean, it's kind of a weird word to say, but it's really just very random, and that's the whole point of this, is it's gonna give you a really dimensional, diffused look.
Why the tease?
Great question.
And can you put color on top of it?
Good question. So, why the tease? A couple things. The tease is to really help to kind of diffuse this root area. But also, when you're working with somebody, if you go through the concepts of Nioxin color, principles for color, that sort of thing. One of the techniques that is going to help with your clients that are more concerned with thinning hair, it's creating the illusion of thicker, fuller hair. So when you have the little bit of the tease and the diffusion at the root area, it gives you the ability to have more of a diffused, more depth at the root area, and that can help with allowing your client to have the look of thicker, fuller hair. And I do put the color just right over it. It just kind of helps me diffuse it. So you can see here where I'm just kind of taking my brush. I'm not putting a ton of saturation at this back comb area. I am coloring it, but I'm not putting a ton of saturation through there. I'm going through and just adding more of my saturation to these ends, because you don't want to end up, what can happen is if you back comb and you put a ton of saturation through there, it can almost look a little bit like you have pockets of color if it's not, if it's done too much. So now you can see here, I am so just very random. So the only key thing I would say for this technique is you want to make sure that you're starting each section with a different color. That way you don't have all the roots red or all the roots brown, because that could actually...
The video is frozen.
It might be a little bit delayed, but I don't think we're having frozen issues on our side. All right, so the key thing is you want to just make sure the root area is starting with a different color on each section. Okay, and I'm going to take this one as my last one. You can see here.
Do you start first from front or back of heat?
Front, or start at the back or the front first? I always start my color techniques or my lightening techniques in the back first. And the reason for that is because I am a section by section rinser by, my training. I trained at Vanessa Soon for a long time and worked there for almost 10 years. So we always started in the back area. I just find that it's easier for me to, if I need to rinse this out before my front is continued to process, I can just take my client to the shampoo bowl, gently lean their head back in the bowl, and easily rinse without disturbing the front. But you could there's nothing wrong with starting in the front and maybe just changing up your developer a little bit. That is not a problem at all. So whatever you're comfortable with.
Would you use the same ratio on virgin hair?
The same mixing ratio? Mm-hmm. I would definitely use the same mixing ratio on virgin hair. So it's a 1 to 1.5 mixing ratio with Magma when you're working with Color Touch or WellaEducation developers. Or I was saying earlier that you could actually use our free lights for this technique as well. So this is our free lights developer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but this is actually our hand painting Blondor family. So free lights, we have a powder and a developer that's made for open air freehand or balayage techniques. That actually can be used with Magma as well. So that would be, that your ratio with mixing ratio would change a little bit there if you were choosing to do that instead. I like using foils because I'm a foiler. It's just how I was raised. I just feel like I have a little bit more control personally for myself, but you can absolutely use this with the free lights developer. All right, so I finished the back so you can see how quick and easy. I'm gonna spin it all the way around again.
Does it last as long as the Color Touch? It's Magma.
Oh, good question. So let me just, so we've got 4 foils on each side, so 8 foils total on the back. Does free lights last as long as Color Touch? Yes, so Magma will last, the semi-permanent dyes itself will last about 20 to 24 shampoos, depending on, what you're shampooing with and porosity and that sort of thing. So that's not going to change the longevity at all based on the developer choice. What will change is just the lift, right? So if I'm using Free Lights developer in open air concept, I might bump up my developer a little bit. So right now I'm working with 6 volume and 13 volume because I have the foil. But if I was to be hand painting this, I might work with either the 20 or 30 volume Free Lights.
And do you use a steamer for a process?
Great question. So we don't recommend putting any of our lighteners under a steamer because it could potentially disrupt the lifting, maybe lift too quickly. So we don't recommend any of our lighteners going under any kind of heat source.
And what's this technique called?
Good question. This is called, well, I call it artistic blending. But, to be honest, this is kind of an inspiration from both our Lux Lights collection, because this is actually one of the sectionings that we had put on our Lux Lights. Then you can find that on our WellaEducation app as well. But it's a really good, quick and easy section that you can use in a salon situation to give maximum amount of color, but minimal amount of time, because we know that you guys are, having challenges with being able to book as many clients that you were particularly used to. So this is a great, quick and easy way to up-service your client without having to add too much time to your books.
Does more volume intensify the color?
Great question. So more volume does intensify the color, and I'll show you that example again because I think this is a really great visual. So you guys can see here, this is the lower volume of developers and this is the higher volume of developers. So you can see it will intensify that tone quite a bit as you're getting into the higher volumes of developer.
And does it bleed when you hand paint?
Does it bleed when you hand paint? So you want to just make sure that you are obviously taking good care of your application and not over manipulating it. But because of the consistency of Magma being a clay-based lightener as well, the Free Lights, specifically the Free Lights developer, is actually made with acrylic polymers. And that is where we really get the power from in Free Lights. So that acrylic polymer is actually that mixes with the clay. It allows it to basically give you the opportunity to do a hand painting without bleeding or bruising onto the rest of the hair. But with Magma, you want to take a little bit more caution when you are doing hand painting, just because of the pigments that you have involved with it. They could bruise a little bit if you're not mindful. Okay, so you can see now that I've gotten to the front. I'm actually going to bring this over. I'm going to have Carissa kind of come up close. This might help you guys a little bit better too. So before I go to here is the back section that I just did. This is an example here of my sectioning, my veil or my diamond. So you can see here, they're almost like, it's like a herringbone almost, or diagonal back sections through here. And now I'm transitioning to this front, to this top. So you can see it's only 4 foils, on either side. So again, quick and easy. But here I'm working with, again, that herringbone type of section or the diagonal back sections. And I'm working with the way that the hairline grows. So I'm starting right at the hairline here. So you're gonna get that little bit of that kind of brightness around from the front area, but just again, minimal amount of work, maximum amount of impact.
Are any more suitable for darker hair colors? Level 2, 3, and 4.
Are any of the Magma shades suitable for darker hair colors? Absolutely. They actually all are really suitable for darker hair colors. So, but the ones with the plus sign, you'll see, I know it's kind of hard to see. So we've got the plus sign here, the stroke 07 plus. That indicates that there's a little bit more tone to these. So we've got it here as well, the stroke 39 plus, as well as the stroke 89 plus. Those are all really designed specifically with a little bit more pigment in them for those darker hair colors.
And what if the person has copper reddish tone or blonde?
Great question. So if somebody has copper reddish color, I love using Magma. You can create some really beautiful red shades with Magma by diluting down some of the red. Now, good question with the blondes. If your client has blonde, think of it this way. Magma is a lightener, but it has direct dyes. So whatever direct dye that you're seeing here, and if this was overlapped on anything that was blonde, it will deposit that direct dye on that hair. So I would be very careful and mindful about that. But on the flip side of it, you can actually use these as creative toning options as well, mixed with the 6 volume. So if you're wanting a bright hint of that pink, you can absolutely use Magma to achieve that over your blondes. But if you are doing a blonde highlight and you're not wanting to over deposit on that hair with a semi-permanent color, just make sure that you are not overlapping. You want to just do your retouch. The way that this is going to be really cool is like if this client was to come back in a couple months for a retouch, you could retouch it because the only thing that's going to be missing is the tone. So the lift is still going to be there, right? Because you're still lifting it, but the tone is what's going to be rinsed out. So what you can do is you can refresh that tone with color touch relights, or anything in our portfolio for deposit. Okay, so now I'm working through that front area. I want to have it a little bit lighter, brighter through this front, maybe not red just directly on her face, on that front part. So I'm starting here with the stroke 07 plus, kind of just blending it through. The other cool thing that you can change too is the saturation. So you can see here that I was soft in my saturation, but when I get down further, I want that to be a little bit lighter, brighter, so you can really make sure that your saturation is really nice and thick on here. And then I'm gonna go through here with so you can see where that artistic blending comes into play. Okay. So just using my sandwiching technique. And you can see Magma, because of the clay kind of consistency, it can be a little bit heavy in your foils. So I recommend always doing this little corner lock, even if you're just doing a regular highlight, not even a sandwich, so that it just keeps it from getting too heavy during the processing time.
Is there anything the client can do to make the color stay longer?
Great question. Is there anything that your client can do to make the colors stay longer? Yes. So a couple things. One, the first thing when we're done with this is you always want to use the Magma sealing hair as a final step to this color process, because it locks in that color, it stops the oxidation, and it really locks in that tone. The other thing I would recommend, and this is actually what I used on the finished mannequin, is the Nioxin Color Lock. This is amazing. So this actually is a pre-shampoo. So when this is finished, you'd rinse her hair. You would do the color lock. So this is more of an in-salon service, but I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. Amazing consistency. So this also stops the oxidation. It also helps protecting those ends for the shampoo. So you can see it's a foam-based consistency. You would rinse all this color out, apply this to their hair for 3 to 5 minutes, then do your shampoo. That's gonna help lock in that tone, but it's also gonna help minimize any kind of mechanical damage done to the hair during the shampoo process. And remember, that's kind of what we're really focusing on today too, is not only this rich fall color, but the opportunity of using the Nioxin products that are gonna be suitable for maintaining this color, but also minimizing any kind of further hair loss damage.
And it would be good with clients with thinning concerns.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I mean, I'm not even kidding you guys. I am a die-hard Nioxin user. So that is literally my entire regimen. And all the products that I'm going to show you today is what I use on a daily basis. I went through a personal story of having a lot of hair loss a few years ago based on stress. So we all know that I think everybody right now in this world is going through such a stressful time because, as we know, 2020 has not been kind to us. So you're probably seeing and hearing a lot of your clients having issues with hair loss. So Niopsin is a go-to for that. The other thing with that is that all the products that I'm going to show you today are actually made for color-treated hair. So you don't need to compromise the color in order to have products that are going to address issues of thinning and scalp conditions. So they're actually made to preserve the color without stripping it, because I think that's always kind of something that everybody's worried about. Well, I can't use a thinning hair product because it's going to strip out my color. So that is absolutely not true, especially when you're working with our Nioxin color products.
So if you use Color Lock, you don't use WellaEducation? Can you use 2?
Great question. So I did not put WellaPlex in this Magma today. You absolutely could use the WellaPlex product in there if you'd like, which obviously would be great for those clients that are having concerns with their scalp or their hair condition. So if you were to use if you had WellaPlex in here, you would go through and do your shampoo. No, you would do your color with your WellaPlex. You would rinse really well. You would do the part 2, the number 2 system with WellaPlex. Then you would shampoo that, and then you would do the Magma Sealing Care. So in the case that you're doing the WellaPlex you would do that instead of the Color Lock, because we recommend the Color Lock could be interchanged with the color post treatment that we have in Wella. So let me grab it. I actually have a bottle. Let me bring it over. So the Wella Color Service. So you guys can see here.
Will this diamond technique look nice when working with blondes?
Yeah, it's amazing on blondes. So this is what we usually recommend after any color service is the color post treatment. The Color Lock would be in place of the color post treatment. Okay, so it'd be the only difference with the Color Lock is you do it before the shampoo, not after, where this you do after the shampoo. It's amazing. All right, so I'm gonna put in my last section and then I'm gonna go through and
you use the same colors on both sides?
I used the same colors on both sides, but because this is artistic blending, it's kind of cool because you don't have to worry about it being exactly the same. So if you did, a brown root here and a red end and a red, you don't have to worry about it matching on both sides, because that's kind of the whole vibe of this is just think back to my mood board that I showed you guys earlier of just those rich colors and that, almost kind of that blend of light that you have throughout the fall and the different fall seasons. That's kind of what I'm trying to create here, not only with my tones, but with my actual color placement as well.
If the client came back after weeks, will they have the same color? Is it difficult to place the same technique above the old color?
Good question. So would your client come back with the same color? So the technique would still be there. So you would see almost like a highlighted look. The tones themselves would be faded out. The only one that you might see a little bit of remnants left in there is maybe the red one, because it is a really good color to stay in the hair. I know that's a bit of a challenge for all of us to get those reds to stay. That might be the only one that you see. What you would be able to do is do the same sectioning if you'd like. So you could go and touch up the root area, but you could use something different for these ends. So at this point, the lift is already there, so you probably don't need to lift it any further when you're working with lightener. You could go in and just redo the tones. So that way you could do the same kind of technique, but you could use Color Touch, you could use Illumina and just kind of do that same feel to it. Or you could even just go through and just do a really pretty glossy service over the whole thing to refresh the color. Okay, so I finished my technique here. So as you can see, we worked with just 4 foils in the front. Actually, I don't even think it's 4, I think it's 3. So 3 foils on each side, so 6 total in the front. And then if you go around to this back area here, I can kind of squeeze it. We have 4 on each side, so there's 8 total in the back. So really, when you think about it, very minimal amount of work for you as a stylist, right? So I think that's what we need to kind of focus on, is getting more bang for our buck these days. But still a really great way to update your brunettes, even your blondes. Great way to use, a great sectioning to use for adding dimensional color into your blonde family as well. And you can use this technique with anything. You could use it with Blondor, you could use it with Illumina Color, Colorstim Perfect, Color Touch. I just particularly chose Magma today because I really wanted to share the artistic blending kind of thing, the vibe for you guys. All right, so I'm gonna have her go off, and I'm gonna have my assistant, just kidding, I don't have my assistant. I'm gonna have my assistant go ahead and let her process and blow dry her. But now, I am going to move this out of the way. Sorry, Clarissa.
So when the color washes out, what is the color underneath?
I am going to show you right now. So, ta-da, she's processed. My assistant did a beautiful blow dry, very quick blow dry. So, what I would do is, so this is the finished look, and I'm gonna comb through it really quick so you guys can see up close and personal. But what I wanted to do is I processed the mannequin for 45 minutes. So again, low and slow for 45 minutes. And let me show you the products. Let me move all this stuff out of the way that I chose to use, okay? So the first product here is the Nioxin Density Defend. And so I'm talking to you guys about Nioxin because we really wanted to focus on like hair health and skin health, especially during the fall tones. But I'm also not just talking to you about this because I was told to. This is honestly the regimen that I use on my own hair on a daily basis. So this is the care products that I would definitely pair this look with. So this is the number 3. As you can see here, the Niopsin System Kit number 3, it is actually designed to be color safe. So this is color safe for color treated for light thinning hair. So if you would go to the Nioxin consultation app, you can actually diagnose yourself. We've got 6 system kits in total, so you could just put in everything that your needs or your client's needs, and it would actually tell you what system kit you would need. This is actually the system kit that I use on a daily basis. So I'm color treated hair, I have light thinning hair, so I use this every single day and have no issues with keeping and maintaining my color from it does not fade because it has EDDSs in there and it really makes sure to protect the color. So after you shampoo, this Density Defend is honestly my favorite product, and I'm not even kidding you. I go through a bottle of this probably like every 3 weeks because I put so much in my hair. It's a very light, it's almost like it's a strengthening foam, it's called, but it's almost like a conditioner. I put this in my hair before I even start to comb it out because when you're combing it out, you cause mechanical damage. So I put this in my hair and then comb it out. So it really helps to minimize the amount of damage by, I believe it's like 97%. So this is an amazing color, and it's made amazing product, and it's made again to protect that color. And then we already talked about the color lock, but this is also another really good option, you guys. So for the Scalp Protect Serum, this is an in-salon service only. So if you have clients that are coming in, especially for those of you guys that are in countries or different parts of the state that have that, those winter seasons. I mean, like I said, it's, 75 degrees here in Southern California. So it does get dry though. So when you're dealing with those winter climates, you'll have clients that will start to complain about scalp dryness. You'll start seeing the flakiness. So this is a really great product. I don't know if you can see, Chris, if you can show them the viscosity of this. So you can see here what the product is. And what this does is you can put it on your client's scalp prior to the color or lightening service. If they have like issues with their scalp being dry or sensitivities during the winter months. So you put this on their scalp and it just does a very soft layer over the scalp to protect that scalp. And then you just gently blow dry it into the scalp. So you don't want to apply color right on this when it's still damp like this. It just takes about a minute for it to kind of really dry out on the scalp. And what this does is it gives you a layer of protection on your client's scalp from any kind of color. So if you're having issues with that. Okay, and so this mannequin was prepped, like I said, the ends were the Density Defend, and then the root area was done with the Diamax Advanced. So this is, again, one of my all-time favorite products, and like I said, this is the regimen that I use on a daily basis. This is actually, if you can see how it sprays out, it's pretty amazing. Okay, I'm not going to spray it on a mannequin. This is to be done on hair.
Okay, you're on.
Sorry, we're having technical issues with our internet. So this you would put on the hair, the scalp area, comb it through, and blow dry. This actually plumps up each individual hair strand so much that it almost is pretty crazy. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to comb through my mannequin.
And the diamond sections need to go in the center of the head or in the parting part, and why doesn't the top need color?
Great question. So the diamond section can be on the top of the head, or if your client has a very predominant side part, you could put it over their parting. So the whole point of a diamond section or the veil is really to just give you dimensional color. And for this particular section, you would not have color through this top. So here I'm going to start combing through. As I'm combing through, you guys can kind of see that root lift. I did not do any round brushing on this mannequin at all. I prepped her with the products I told you from Nioxin. And then I just did a flat wrap with a Denman brush. And look at this root bounce. So that is the Dynamax Advanced. It makes it just look so bouncy. But let me comb through this. I hope that you guys are able to see.
Is the scalp protection the same as the Color Motion scalp protection?
It's not the same exactly, but it's very similar. So if you have the Color Motion scalp protector, then you could use that as well. With Nioxin, it was just made to go with the Nioxin color.
And a good shampoo for colored thinning hair.
A good shampoo for color thinning hair is the number 3. The system kit number 3 for light thinning. The system kit number 4 for advanced thinning, but still protecting the color. And then the 5 and 6 are actually for more chemically treated. So that would be something that I would give to somebody that was bleached, like overly processed, porous. And then for, again, light to thinning.
Can you use red tone magma on levels 3 and 4?
You can use the red tone magma on levels 3 and 4. It's really beautiful. It's just going to give you some brightness to that. It's really nice on the darker levels of hair. So can you guys see those tones? So remember going back to my inspiration mood board. So I want to kind of break up this so you can see that when you're working with artistic blending, it just gives you a lot of dimension and variety. So you don't necessarily need to be perfect on that. Let's see, get that light. And this is where you have that diamond section. So you can see the veil. Again, this is a sectioning that is created to give you the opportunity as a stylist to just update your client's color. Very, very low maintenance color for your clients. So this would still, I would, do an all over color or a gloss over their whole color. But here is, can you guys see the different tones? I know it might be a little bit hard to see that, but when you're kind of getting up close, you can see the dimension in there and how some of these ends are red, some of them are brown, some of them have that really nice sun-kissed coppery feel to it here. And that's where you can see all the different tones and dimension. And look here, I think that there was a question on why we backcomb it. You can actually see where I backcombed it and how beautiful of a blend that is. So you don't see any kind of root bruising at all. It just kind of gives you that nice buffer. But again, thinking of the concept of Nioxin, light thinning hair, you want to kind of keep a little bit of that illusion of density through that root area. So having a little bit of a shadowed root is going to give you that kind of feel to it. Okay, so you can see, how are you guys liking these tones? Are you kind of seeing the vibe of that really rich fall?
Getting a lot of beautifuls.
Sun-kissed. So again, here's all that movement. So you can see how it just kind of gave this overall mannequin a really great, fresh color. And look at that root. Can you guys see the Dynamax Advanced? Like, I'm not even kidding you guys. I did not round brush this mannequin. This is literally just flat wrapped with a Denman brush.
Do you answer prices? How much would you charge?
Great question.
For a technique on this length.
Great question. So now I get that question a lot on how much we would charge on a technique like this. To be honest, it's very hard to gauge. So it's based on obviously where you're at in the demographic. What I would consider this, because of the amount of foil work, I would consider this about a partial highlight. So whatever you're currently charging for your partial, I would increase it a little bit because one, you're doing dimension, right? So each color, each of these, the color is different. So you can see the dimension in there. So that's something that your client can't get from the next door salon. And you're also using Magma. So Magma is a little bit more of a, price increase as well. But remember, it takes away that second step. So you can lighten and tone in the same step. So even though it might be a little bit more expensive, you're not having to use that second step in there. So you guys can see all those amazing, rich fall tones here. All right. So how are we doing on questions? Are we good? Yeah? All right. So we went through a lot of stuff today. We went through my version of what I call artistic blending. So going through the diamond shaped here, working with the different magma shades. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit more about magma. Again, like I said, it is something that I feel like stylists forget about or a little bit afraid of or intimidated about. Don't be scared of Magma. It is an amazing tool for you to use in your salon, both on corrective color, natural hair color, or even just adding something a little bit fresh for your clients during the seasonal change. But really going hand in hand with Nioxin. So making sure that as you are behind the chair with not only the winter changes, but remembering that this is a very stressful time, people could be experiencing a lot of issues with scalp irritations, with damaged ends, but also the thought of, thinning hair. So don't be afraid to address those issues with your clients, because you would be surprised that I believe the number is 57 or something like that. 57% of your clients sitting in the chair are actually concerned with thinning hair. That's a huge missed opportunity if you're not having that conversation and really understanding the thought process of thinning hair and educating yourself on that. So I would highly recommend you guys check out the Nioxin Education app. You can get all the details on those products and really just the concept of the principles of coloring hair to give you the illusion of thicker, fuller hair. So I hope that you guys enjoyed our session today on WellaEducation. Thank you guys so much. Again, my name is Carrera Alvarez. You can find me at Carrera Color over on Instagram. So if you have any further questions, feel free to direct message me, and I love staying engaged. So have a great rest of your afternoon wherever you're at in the world, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Have a good afternoon. Bye, everybody.